This is probably going to scream at me once it goes in. To go back to it. Yeah, let me just make sure that goes. This is probably going to scream at me once it goes in. All right. All right. So good morning to everybody. Also, for those that are now going to join us on YouTube, happy to have you here today. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And today we are doing the Art of Prospecting, Prospecting for Success 103. So this is the third in this series. Funny, we did last week, we did the for sale by owner training. And I ended up watching a movie last night, and it was about a realtor. It was one of the people in it, and they had a for sale by owner in it. And much to my pleasure, and it was the same thing as we always thought, and as we talked last week. Well, it was an estate thing, and my sister wants to make all the money she can, and she looks as a realtor as just another expense. Just what we talked about last week. So anyway, in the end, she ended up getting the listing and whatever else. So
I almost watched that.
What's that?
I think I saw the previews for that and almost watched it.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's get rolling here. The Art of Prospecting 103. This I call my ADD training because what I tried to do, there's one more training in this series that we're going to do next week, which is working with your sphere of influence. But this one I went in a bunch of different directions to try to kind of fit it all in. So you're going to see it kind of jumps topics, but they're all topics that are related and will help you be successful. So this is kind of a review from week one, a couple of weeks ago, but whether you're a seasoned top producer or you're a first month salesperson, if your prospecting efforts dwindle, your income's going to dwindle. I told the story. I had a realtor that's worked for me for years. She's a top producer, wins awards every year. She's probably good for 200 to 250,000 in AGC. And every year she stops working somewhere around the week before Thanksgiving, and I don't hear from her again until after January. And what ends up happening is, other than closings during that time, she doesn't do any business usually until May of the next year. And then, of course, she does a ton of business and it works out. And every year she says, "Oh, this is my year. I'm gonna work through the holidays." And she doesn't. And you're gonna hear from me. You're gonna hear some of the videos I'm gonna send you and whatever else, and just some of the sidebar conversations about how important it is to work between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and how this is the time of year you see people you don't normally see. So at the end of the day, as we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, you have to prioritize prospecting. Everything in your life, as I said before, has something pulling at it, right? There's an advocate for your time. If you're married, your husband or your wife, if you have kids, your kids want you to take them to their baseball practice or their softball game. Prospecting has no person saying, "Do me, do me, do me." And as we know, and as we talked about, successful realtors spend 3 hours a day prospecting. Top 10%. We were having a conversation here, about the study I did of top realtors, and top realtors all put 3 hours of their day aside 5 days a week to prospect. And that was across the board. That it was 3 hours. That was the number. So to get started, getting started is the key. One of the hardest things is getting started. It's like when you try to do a new behavior. Hey, you know what? You're getting New Year's resolutions coming up. And for those of you who don't know, I used to own health clubs back in the day. My undergrad was health sciences, and I used to own health clubs, and you'd see people come in. I used to call them the church donation people. They'd come in 1st of January. This is the year I'm getting in shape. And of course, starting that new habit takes significant commitment. So what I challenge you to do is, for the next 30 days, without fail, and again, take weekends off, but for the next 4 weeks, let's call it, or 30 work days, which would be 6 weeks, whatever's going to work for you, set aside those 3 hours and make sure without fail you are not interrupted, okay? And make the calls we're teaching you to make. If you can do this for 4 to 6 weeks, it will make prospecting a part of your life, and you will, not maybe, you will be a top agent. So let's talk about concepts of successful prospecting. All right. We're all dedicated. We're going to do 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And of course, after that, we're going to continue to do it because if we don't, what did we just learn? It's going to dwindle. Let's talk about this. The first concept of successful prospecting is understanding that prospecting is the name of the game. We did this the first week. I told you I was going to build it backwards, and here it is. To make more money, you have to attend more closings. But to have more closings, what do you have to do? You have to write more contracts. To write more contracts, you need more listings and buyers, but we're going to go with listings here. To have more listings, because that's what we're calling to do, we work with sellers who play with buyers, remember. To have more listings, you need to attend more appointments. To attend more appointments, you need to schedule more appointments. Well, how do you schedule more appointments? By prospecting. And understand something here. If I just remove one line from this entire thing, and that being you need to prospect, what happens to everything else? It collapses. None of those things happen, right? Like we talked about your very first training, we talked about the car factory. If you don't put raw materials into your car factory every day, you don't have steel, you don't have radios, you don't have whatever, somebody sooner or later on your assembly line is going to not have a job to do that day, and the conveyor belt's going to stop moving. If you don't prospect every day, your conveyor belt is going to stop moving, and people aren't going to be straight through your pipeline, which should always be flowing with people in it. Concept 2, focus on building inventory. A lot of agents hear them, oh, I got a goal, I'm going to list X number of houses. I want you to start thinking like top agents think. They don't think about, I got to get 2 listings today or this month or whatever else, or whatever that number is. What they do is they call it their inventory. You ever hear an agent call it their inventory? That's usually a top agent or somebody that's aspiring to be a top agent. Top agents understand that they always need to have a certain number of houses in their inventory, and that number changes as the market changes. When I got in this industry, believe it or not, I was teaching agents they should have 23 listings at all times. What would that do if they were 6-month listings? It would give them 52 listings a year. At that time, only half of listings were selling. Can you believe that? And they would sell 26 houses in 12 months if they did that. It changes. During the craziness with the housing shortage, you were lucky to have one. But agents, were saying, I just need an inventory of one at all times. So if something goes under contract, guess what you have to do? You have to replenish. Think about it like running a store. Perfect timing, Black Friday on Friday, right? If I ran a retail store and didn't have anything in my store, what would happen when people came in to shop? They wouldn't buy anything because they didn't have anything there. If you're a realtor with no listings, guess what you are? You're paying the rent of a storefront without having product. So figure out how much you want your product to be, and we can work on this together, what your minimum standard for listings are. And again, keep that standard. If that number's 4, it's 4. When one goes under contract, you need to, with everything that's in you, I got to replenish that. When you have that type of urgency and you start thinking that way, again, that's how top realtors think. That's how they react. That's how they act. And that's why they always have listings. Concept 3, if you were in the office, you're not making money. Now, when I first wrote this, more people would come into a physical office, although even then, we've been doing the remote thing for quite some time. I've always done the remote thing in real estate because I came from a remote world before this. When I say the office, I don't necessarily just mean this physical office coming and sitting here with me. The office that you're sitting in right now at your house. Okay? The office of you go to Panera Bread and sit there and make your phone calls and network or whatever else. Not being face-to-face with clients, right? In a listing conversation, showing them a house. If you're not face-to-face with somebody, you are not making money. So what you want to be doing is spending your entire time in the office trying to get out of the office. And again, the office doesn't necessarily mean here. It could be anywhere, wherever you work from. Your entire goal at all times is to get out of the office and be face-to-face with a client. Because without being face-to-face with a client, you're not going to make any money. Concept 4, work a prospecting plan. I put cold call. That's an old word. And again, I wrote this in 2014, so it was probably an old word then. It just means making phone calls to people that you don't know for sale by owners, uh, expired listings, maybe calling around a neighborhood. Although if you're doing call arounds right, which we'll teach you in farming coming up soon, you're going to get those people in that neighborhood are going to know who you are, what you do for a living, and to use you with their real estate. But spend 3 hours a week doing that. Set goals. I'm going to try to see 2 for sale by owners this week. I gave you guys that 12 touch plan. Use it and say every week I'm going to add 2 new FISBOs. Right? It's not hard to do. It's actually very easy to do. You're going to get listings doing that. I'm going to see 2 expired houses this week. I'm going to work a listing campaign where all I'm going to do is work listings. Those numbers are old, so I skipped over that. Concept 5, this is a very tough one, especially for new agents, sometimes for older agents. Refer your B and C buyers out. What? Oh my God, I got a buyer. You want me to just give them to somebody else? Yeah, I do. And I'm going to explain why. I need you to learn how to identify and then make decisions on what your buyer is, whether they're an A, a B, or a C. An A buyer is someone who has to buy a home right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Who is that person? Hey, I just got transferred. He comes walking into your office or calls you or whatever it is and says, hey, I just got transferred here from Oklahoma. I'm living in a residence inn. I've got my U-Haul out front. I've got my wife. I've got 3 kids. I got a dog, a cat, and a parrot. That guy needs to buy a house yesterday, right? He's got to move. An A buyer, you take out until they find a house. Now, a B buyer is someone who's committed to buying, but maybe they're not in that much of a hurry. Yeah, I'd like to buy and whatever, but it doesn't have to happen right away. We can wait until the spring if something doesn't come up, blah, 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 blah. So they're committed, but they're not that committed. A C buyer is somebody that's not committed at all. If you can get me a house that's 20,000 under the price, and you can sell my house for 20,000 more than it's worth, and this one has blue paint and green this and blah, 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 we'll buy the house. Has anybody ever worked with one of those buyers? If you haven't, you're either new in the business or you're lying, because we've all made the mistake of going out with a C buyer. And what does a C buyer do? They go to see houses. Yeah, I didn't like any of these. And you just showed 5 houses and spent 2-3 hours with them. Can we go out again on Thursday? Sure. And they send you houses and they go out, let's go get some more. And they go out on Saturday and Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. And this keeps going. And you've spent $300 on gas already. And they're still at the end, they're like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to wait until interest rates drop a little bit. We'll give you a call. That's a C buyer, and that is a time waster. When you identify B and C buyers, refer them to someone else. You're still going to get 25%, and probably, a lot of times they will close, but they'll close at how many hours? By the time you're done, if you did the math, you'd have been better off per hour working at McDonald's than you were working with these buyers. Scary, I know, especially if you're new, but trust me, you need to spend time doing your real job. What is your real job? Looking for listings. Why? Top 10% of realtors spend 75 to 80% of their time going after listings. Agents that make 6-figure incomes have 75% of their income minimum come from listings and only 25% from buyers. Why? The buyers fall on their lap. The only reason they're doing 25% is they have listings. Certain number of buyers are going to call them because of their listings. It's great advertising. So put your efforts into your inventory and everything will fall into place. If you continue to make calls, you're going to get an appointment. That's the other thing. Don't give up. You may have a good day and a bad day and whatever else. I always tell people, they'll tell you that you need to have about 30 real estate conversations, not dials, 30 real conversations per appointment. That's the average that's out there. Give or take a couple, depending on whatever. You may talk to 150 people and get 0 appointments. And you're gonna be like, my God, we're never gonna get an appointment again. Then all of a sudden you're gonna call 5 in a row and get 5 appointments, right? It doesn't happen that, oh, I made 29 calls, guaranteed I'm gonna get the 30th. Just because it's 1 out of 30 doesn't mean it's exactly 1 out of 30. You're gonna have streaks where you get a lot of appointments and where they slow down. But the successful realtor keeps making the calls. They know that number that they have to reach, and they reach that number every day. And everybody that's here should know that number. If you're new and you just jumped on here, especially I can't see everybody and I can't see everybody that's on YouTube, get with me and we're going to set your number so you know who to talk to each day. Understand that by picking up the phone and just making a call, even if you don't get the appointment, you're no worse than if you didn't make the call at all. If you get up and totally screw it up, I've seen agents do this. They've called and said all the wrong things and still walked away with an appointment. You know, what do they say? A blind squirrel, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. So don't be so attached to the results of your call. Keep making the call. Of course, we're gonna keep working on your skills in conversation mastery and prospecting power hour, and get you better and better and better as you're calling people. But and your number is going to come down. It's going to take less for you to get these appointments. But understand that you only fail in real estate if you stop continuing to try. And going back to what I originally said, if you keep making calls, you're going to get appointments. All right. So now that we know that we need to, we need to get, we want to get out of the office. We want to this, we want to that. We know how many people we need to talk to. We know the importance of it. Let's talk about understanding the prospect. Understanding what the prospect is thinking, feeling, and their mindset is the key to success in real estate. Remember, the most important thing that you can learn from every person that you talk to, you guys hear me say this all the time, and the reason I say it over and over and over is because I got to drill it in your head so it's second nature to you. What is that person committed to? Whether they're committed to dying in their house, or whether they're committed to moving in 2 years or in 2 weeks. We want to know what that person is committed to. And in every conversation, if you can find out what the person's committed to and get them thinking about and telling you about what they're committed to, they're going to open up to you. That's why when we did FSBO last week, what did we do? We got off the fact that we're a realtor and they hate realtors, and we asked them where they were moving and asked them why and what they like there and this and that. Because if a person opens up and tells you what their innermost secrets are, or what their desires are, or whatever else, they're going to start to like you and trust you. And that's what we're trying to do. So always ask questions and be an active listener. So for example, why is someone a for sale by owner? Again, as we saw in our movie last night, they thought they were going to save money. And of course, they couldn't sell the house. But here's why. The first reason is they may have had a bad experience with a real estate agent. And I'm not doing these in order because the biggest one is they're motivated by cost savings. But a lot of times it will also be that they had a bad experience with a real estate agent. Well, here's one of the things I say to them. Hey, have you ever gone out to a restaurant and had a bad meal? Yeah. Did you ever go back to that restaurant? No, I'd never go back to that restaurant. Do you go to other restaurants? Well, yeah, of course I go to other restaurants. I just never go back to that one. Well, it's a lot like real estate. There's good realtors like restaurants. There's good restaurants. There's bad restaurants. There's restaurants that are average. Unfortunately, it sounds like in real estate, you work with a bad realtor, but there's good, bad realtors, average realtors, and good realtors. I happen to be one of Tampa Bay's best realtors. And basically, you're showing them that all realtors are not created equal. Second reason, they don't know any better. They don't understand the value of a realtor. That's what I was screaming at the TV last night because the girl didn't try to go through and talk a little bit more about her value. But anyway, they don't understand what we do. They think this is just put a sign on a bulletin board or at the grocery store or at your country club or wherever, community center, and you're going to find a buyer. You're going to shake hands, maybe hug and kiss each other on the cheek, and you got to sell. That's, sing kumbaya. It's not how it works. The hardest part of real estate is contract to closing. They don't even know about deadlines. They don't even know about who's going to write the contract. They don't even know about inspections and title and surveys and mortgage applications. And I can keep going and going. You guys get it. They're motivated usually most by cost savings. They think they're going to save money not using a realtor. I showed you guys last week how to overcome that. Be careful doing it because you want to have a relationship before you do it, but it's important to understand that. Some of them are control freaks. They want more flexibility and control. For those of you that were here when we did our personality class, and we talked about the big D for dominant. A dominant person wants to be in control, and so they think they're in control by doing it themselves. And they also, a lot of times, it's ego. They think they can do as good a job or better job as you. And really, it's because, honestly, it's their lack of being educated about the importance of of what a realtor really does. And that's why it's our job to educate them. Remember, we are not salespeople in this business. We are coaches and advisors. Understanding expired listings. Expired listings usually feel one of the following, sometimes more. Number one, obviously, they aren't, or at least weren't, opposed to working with an agent because they're expired. They had an agent. But the biggest thing I get is they may be upset with agents. Again, the restaurant story I just told you works great with overcoming this. The other thing that helps them when they're upset with their agent, let them vent a little bit. Get them back to thinking about what they're committed to. Oh, and they're, my realtor didn't do this and they didn't do that. Hey, hey, let me just ask you, where were you looking to move? Oh, and they get, attitude changes and they start sharing, and let them go for as long as they want, because the longer they go, the more they're going to like and trust you. Third thing, they feel rejected. Oh, woe is me. I had this dream to move, but now I'm going to die in this house. I'm never going to be able to sell it. So what we want to do is we want to get them talking about what they're committed to, and be positive and make them understand that the best way for them to actually get to move to wherever they're committed to is to meet with you. Remember this at every conversation, whether it's a person standing in front of you at the grocery store line, or for sale by owner, a family member, somebody you meet randomly at a Christmas party this time of year. Well, when you learn what a person is committed to, any person, and you have a conversation with them about this, you'll find out that if they're looking to buy or sell right now, they're going to want to give you the appointment because they want somebody that cares about what they want. Very quickly, we did this last week, but just to review why sellers can't save by being a FSBO. Number one, they're not going to net the same. Why? FSBO buyers want a bargain. So let's back up before we even talk about the bargain. Normally, people that sell FSBO go a little bit under what the price is. So I'm just going to use $100,000 just because it's easy math. Normally, if a house is worth $100,000, if for sale by owner is going to go try to undercut it. So let's say they go $95,000. Let's say they go $94,000. So they figured they were going to spend $2,000 extra on an agent because the agent would charge 6%, right? So they're going to up the ante and they're going to sell for $96,000. They're going to make an extra $2,000 and they're ahead of the game. And again, that number doesn't sound like a lot, but put that in, 500,000 and you know what I mean? I'm just doing it a real low number to give you the point. FSBOs and people that buy houses from FSBOs and things like that tend to be savvy, and they automatically understand the discount. The number that for whatever reason comes to them is to always offer 10% under whatever they're asking. So if they're at 95,000, they're already given up 5,000, or 94,000, they've already given up $4,000. Now this person comes in and says, basically they're going to take about almost 10 grand, $9,400 off the price. And they come in with an offer somewhere around $85,000, let's call it $86,000. Now this FSBO is negotiating from $86,000 to try to get them back up. Are they ever going to get to that 94,000 that the realtor would have gotten them and all the other stuff would have been taken care of? They wouldn't have to pay $3,000, $2,000, $1,500, whatever it is to have a lawyer write a contract, pay for this, pay for that, whatever. Never happens. Third party negotiating. Not only are we going to get that higher price, but we bring objectivity and advocate for a higher sales price. We're trained to negotiate. We've done so hundreds of times. And as I always, try to throw this out, an attorney who represents himself has a fool for a client. And that's what they're doing. They're going to be emotional about the price. they're not going to know how to negotiate and get the best price. Most importantly, agents have more available resources. It's marketing 101. To get the highest price, you need to get more buyers through the door. To create more exposure for a home than a FSBO can generate, and more demand to get a higher selling price, right? One of the stories that we're going to teach you in, I believe in stories and analogies when overcoming objections. It works. When we get there, one of the stories I'm going to tell you is the net or the one line. It's called the one line fishing technique, and here's how it works. If you went fishing and you took your pole out, how many fish would you catch in a day? Maybe if you're lucky, you get a couple, right? What if a commercial fishing boat comes next to you with a net? How many fish are they going to catch? Hundreds, thousands? Why? They got a giant net. You've got one line. It's the same thing here. Realtors, we have a giant net to find buyers. We have so many tools, so many things, so many contacts, so many whatever. They're putting it on the bulletin board in their office at work. They're putting it in the bathroom wall in their health club. They're trying to put it up at the grocery store, maybe their country club, their whatever. We create more exposure for a home than a FSBO can by generating it by themselves. And 97%, okay, of people, of buyers, use an agent to buy a house. Why? It doesn't cost them anything. Even after the lawsuit, it still doesn't cost them anything, or it costs them very little. And they know they have a professional that's an advocate for them. So 97% of buyers are wiped off the table. All right, telephone tips. So since you're going to be calling these people and talking to these people, let's move in. As I said, these things that kind of jump around, but they all are related. Tip number one, remember that the person sitting across from you is a human being and show them that you care. It's revolutionary to some people in real estate when I say it. And I'm like, it's just stepping back. And when the people realize that you actually do care, and that you care what they're committed to, and that you're going to jump in the foxhole with them to get them to where they want to be, they're going to like you and want to use you. Have a genuine care and concern for them. Switch your motivation from my inventory, I got to have this for whatever, and put it towards how can I help this person reach their goal of buying, selling, or whatever else. Yep, ego's getting away. You're right, Suzanne. No doubt. Tip two, ask a lot of questions. When you go to I don't know what to, look, when you go to a store that's got a salesperson, furniture store, used to be electronic stores. I think they're all out of business that had the high pressure salespeople. Anybody remember Crazy Eddie's? Prices are insane. Anyway, yeah, he ended up in jail, but it's a different story. The commission salesperson comes over, and what do they start doing? This thing's got blah, 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 and they're talking all this technical crap that you don't even understand, right? Or maybe I guess computer stores, I guess now do this. It's got the B329 chip that blah, 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 right? And you're sitting there because your head's spinning because they don't know what the heck they're talking about. Instead, I want you to act like you're a doctor and they came to you. When you go to your doctor starts spouting off medical stuff that they learned in med school. You know, like this guy spouted off what he learned in computer class. No. What do? They ask a lot of questions. Again, I told you, I say this over and over and over. You guys hear it from me every week. It's because I want to ingrain it. Find out what they're committed to. Where are you looking to move? When are you looking to move there? Why are you looking to move there? What do you like there? Tell me about it. Wow, that sounds awesome. Get on the same side with them. But listen to them. You have two ears and one mouth. Use them in proportion. I learned that when I was 22, 20. Well, I shouldn't say I learned that. I heard that when I was 22 or 23. First job from a mentor I had in the health club industry. It's so true. I'm still working on that one, but you know. When you do this, it shows a genuine interest in the other person. It helps you build rapport. It helps you build that relationship. And also remember that whoever asks the last question is in control. If they're asking questions, they're controlling the conversation. And we'll talk Powerful Listing Conversations is the next series after this. We're going to talk and teach you how to not allow somebody to totally disrupt your listing presentation by interjecting, but we'll do that in a couple of weeks. Your commitment is to help them, and you show that to them, and you do that by asking a lot of questions. What are some sample questions? And guys, I have a bunch of handouts from today that have all the breakout sessions that we're going to do through the week. Remind me at the end and I'll get them for you. I'll either put them into chat or I can email them to you or however you guys want them. If you guys are watching me on YouTube, just email me, wzeltman@brandsbyintegra.com, and I will email it back to you. Some questions. Where were you going to move when you sold your home? Why are you moving there? Do you have a new house already picked out? Or you look where you're going? Have you worked with an agent before? How did that go? If I had a buyer that would pay the money you need to make a move a success, you wouldn't have to pay a fee out of that money. Is that something you consider? There's a whole bunch of questions. One of the things to remember, though, is always have those questions be conversational. You're not, I don't know who does the news anymore. I don't watch the news in the major networks anymore, but the major network, you used to have like Tom Brokaw. I used to always say, you don't want to be Tom Brokaw here or Barbara Walters here, where you're just firing questions like, you're going after a politician that just got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it conversational. Tip number 3, the purpose of your call is to see if you can help them. Go in with that attitude. That's a secret, guys. If you go in with the attitude of, hey, let me see how I can help you, instead of going in, oh God, I hope I get this sale, or I hope I get this appointment, I hope I get this listing. Let me go see if I can help them. And again, remember that person you're speaking to on the other end is a human being. Learn their story. Decide if you can help them. If you can, get that appointment and get in the door. Get face to face with them. Remember, you need to be face to face. We don't want to do a listing appointment over the phone. First time I taught that, this was back in the day, 10, 11 years ago, I had a girl, Smelly Kelly, for any of you that follow these classes. She came in and she said, you told me I'd never get a dealer appointment on the phone. Blah, blah, blah. She got a listing from Texas because the people were selling land that they owned in New Jersey. And I was just like, yeah, okay. But you missed the whole point. 99% of the time, you're going to be in person. Doesn't mean you can never do a listing appointment on Zoom. You can certainly do them on Zoom and whatever else. But the best is to be face-to-face, to build that relationship. Best advice I can give you: spend extra time working the phone. I had a friend back when I owned my health club in the 90s. Real estate market was in a real bad place in 95, 96. I bought my health club in 96. And after that, we started to go into a much better market, especially at the Jersey Shore. And I had this friend who moved down. We used to call him Crazy Rich. Everybody's got a nickname in Jersey, Crazy Rich got into real estate, took his class, started doing this. And what he did was, at the end of the day, this is back when people were in the office because they had to be in the office. They had 2 reasons to be in the office. They were at the beach. It was like being in Clearwater here, like on Clearwater Beach. They had winter rentals come in all the time. But also, this was before computers, before the MLS. So people would come in to see what was listed by looking in those giant binder books. So Rich would go in there, and the office closed at 5 o'clock. Rich said, I'm just going to do a half hour, 5 days a week, of extra phone calls. He took the phone book. Anybody remember what a phone book is? Anybody old enough to know what a phone book is? All right. Took the phone book, opened the phone book, and started at the letter A and said, I'm just going to, however long it takes, half hour a day, make phone calls. And I'm going to call through the entire phone book in this county. I don't know if he was going to do the whole county. The county wasn't that big, but anyway. He said he was making 1 to 2 appointments a week for people coming over to do free market evaluations. Of course, I didn't know I was in the health club business, had no idea what a free market evaluation was. He was getting 1 to 2 listings a month by that extra half hour. He goes, I was doing all the other things to get my appointments, but I was getting extra 1 to 2 appointments just by staying in the office after everybody left for that half hour. So remember these 2 tips when you're talking to people. Told you I was going to repeat myself. Find out what they're committed to, and then decide if you can help them. If you can, set the appointment. Remember, we went through this in nauseating detail last week, so we're going to do a little bit slower, a little bit different here. But we always use IICCC when we talk to somebody on the phone, and even when we're in person, going to a for sale by owner's house or somebody we don't know. Identify, introduce, clarify your commitment and your call to action. The best agents tell homeowners that we're inviting them to take action, remember this, based on what they're committed to. And if they're committed to selling, they really should explore all options, which includes meeting with us. Did I put those in here? No. So let me redo these real quick for anybody that maybe wasn't here last week. But the first thing is you want to identify that you're speaking to a decision maker. I told the story. I was working from home doing one of these classes one day, and a salesperson came to my door. He didn't identify I was the homeowner. So what did I say? Dude, I'm here from New Jersey, out of town. The owners aren't here right now. They went out. What could he say? He was done. Instead, we call somebody and say, hey, I was calling about your house. Is it still for sale? If it's not the decision maker, what are they going to do? Hang on, let me get my dad. Right? If they don't offer, say, yeah, it's still for sale. Oh, are you the one selling it? Oh, no, hold on, let me get my dad. That way they can't lie, right? Because they will lie. You call and say, oh, yeah, no, I'm not the one selling it. Like I say, I'm here out of town just visiting my family. Yeah, I don't know when they'll be back. And I blew them off. So always identify before you tell them who you are, that you're speaking to the right person, the person that can make a decision. Second, introduce yourself. And you do it as a run-on sentence with your first C, which is to clarify the reason for your call. And I'll do it for sale by owner. Oh, hi, this is Bill Zeltman from Century 21 Integra. The reason I called was to see if I had a buyer that may be interested in your house, would you pay a commission if I brought you a buyer? Yes, no. 99% of the time for sale by owner says yes, we're not going to list with anybody, but if you bring a buyer, we'll pay you 3%. Oh, that's great. Hey, let me ask you, where are you looking to move? We went right into commitment, right? And now is the length of my conversation. I want to find out where they're looking to move, why, all the things we just talked about of finding out what they're committed to. Once we've got that, we build a rapport, this, that, whatever, we do the call to action. I just like, hey, do you mind if I stop over? I work in an office with, thousands of agents. We have over 2,000 agents, and we're in 18 states. If you let me see this house, the average agent works with about 15 buyers at any given time. I'll take a report back on what your house is all about and take it to all my agents and have them share it with their buyers and see if they have a match up. Who's going to say no to that? Expired listing dialogue. Again, find out what they are or were, and most of the time it still are, committed to. Again, let them vent a little bit about their home not selling or about their realtor. Don't ever join in. Oh, yeah, that company stinks. So I know that agent. He's an idiot. No, don't ever do it. Just let them talk. And then start asking questions to get them, again, back to what they're committed to. Rekindle, what was that dream? Where were they looking to move? What were they looking to do? 6 months ago, they weren't all this bitter and whatever because their house didn't sell. They were excited because they thought their house would sell. Get them back thinking about that. And then invite them to take action. Do you mind if I stop by, take a look at it? If I could find you a buyer, whatever, just have those things. And I gave you these dialogues, or I will give them to you. I have a 7 and 7 expired program. We talked about this a little bit, and this actually, I think this is coming up in a slide or two about the percentages of people that make decisions based on how many times they speak to a person that's in sales. Most people will call an expired listing the first day, and then what will they do the next day? They'll run another expired list, and the people they called yesterday, they just forget about them, right? Maybe they send them something or whatever, but they don't really follow up. I have a program that I'm going to give you in the breakout sessions. It's going to teach you how to touch them 7 times in 7 days and 12 times overall in 30 days. And you're going to cement a relationship with them so that when they're ready to relist their house, they're going to do it with you. Remember, there's tons of competition when working with expireds. We all get those names and numbers at the exact same time. You have to stand out from the crowd. So as I would say, the early bird gets the worm. If you start making calls from, if you're doing your calls from like, let's say 8 in the morning till 11 in the morning, that's great. First calls that you should make every day should be your expireds. Or show up at their house. Again, differentiate yourself. Most realtors use the phone. I already said that. Get up, show up at their house. 7 touches in 7 days. Again, I'm going to give you that program and follow up until the property's listed again. I've seen people follow up for 6, 8, 9, 12 months where the people just drag their feet. And guess what? They end up getting the listing. Most of the time, they're going to relist in a couple of weeks. And again, I've got activity 2 and 3 I'm going to give you. Head Start program. Quiet on this one. It's not, 100% kosher, but whatever. Look at properties that have been listed for 5 months in the area that you serve. Grab those properties and just send them some random postcard. Just all you're trying to do here is if they're in month 5 of a 6-month agreement, we don't know how long their agreement is, maybe 12 months. We're just taking a guess because most are 6. You're getting some name face recognition so that the day you call them, if in fact it does expire, they're like, wait a minute, Suzanne Sanders, how do I know that? And it's just in their head a little bit because they got something from you 2 weeks before. Again, cold calling, that's not a word we really use anymore, but it's power numbers game. Use a book like Cole's Directory, Cole's Realty Resource, it's now called. After identifying that you're speaking to the decision maker, introduce yourself, ask if they're familiar with your company. Don't respond whether they say, oh yeah, I know Century 21 or Coldwell Banker, or if they don't know anything, doesn't matter. You're just asking the question to get them off the scent of wanting to hang up on you. Clarify, the reason I'm calling is because we, or me, or whatever, just listed or just sold a property and we're looking to build our inventory. And I was wondering if you knew anyone was thinking about selling their home in their neighborhood. By the way, these are called just listed, just sold calls. You use the same format for either. These are easy calls because people want to know what's happening in their neighborhood, right? Oh, the Turner's house just sold for $500,000. That's it. They want to know that. People want to know what their house is worth. At that point, you find out what they're committed to, and then call them and take action. How about come over? Come over and let me come over and do a free market evaluation. I'll tell you what your house is worth, right? Do not call list. We, of course, do need to, and Suzanne, I'll grab you in just a second. We do need to be careful of this. However, if you offer something free, it can get you around that rule. So offering a free market evaluation, free first-time home buyer seminar, anything free will help you with that. Yes, Suzanne?
No, I just have a question. If you do that approach where a house is listed in a neighborhood, you're going to reach out to homeowners in that neighborhood. Is it okay to do if that house isn't listed by yourself? That it may be another agent within your company?
99% of the time, it's going to be another agent from another company. The good
Okay.
news with that is many people will choose a different company because they want you to be loyal to them. If I listed your neighbor's house, Suzanne, if I listed your neighbor's house today, right? And I put it on the market and you're like, oh, you say, oh, I think I want to sell. You're not going to use me because your thought process is, well, Bill's going to show both these houses and try and sell them both. I have no skin in the game of which one sells first, right?
Gotcha.
So a lot of people think that way. Some people don't. Some people say, oh, that person really knows the neighborhood and I'm going to use them. But we're going for the ones that the other. So no, it doesn't matter. And when we use the word we, right? We just listed, you're talking about all realtors. Or we just sold. And what you always want to tell them is, hey, there's a lot of activity going on. We're expecting a lot of people there's a lot of people looking to buy in this neighborhood, right? That gets them excited. Oh, maybe we have thought about moving. Let's take it off, let's dust off that idea and let's do it. And that's what works. Old for sale by owners. Make copies of, nobody has newspapers anymore. Go find things that, where things may have expired. You can look in Facebook Marketplace and see things that had expired. Again, reason you're calling them is they probably gave up on selling. So you're going to call them, you're going to use the IICCC just like we do, and you're going to ask a bunch of questions, right? That's going to help them. It's going to make them come back to where it was they wanted to move. Tell them, hey, the market's changed a bit, and I think I can get your house sold. Get them excited about it and get the listing. Reviewing the telephone. Remember that I'm going to give you, for you guys that have started to collect scripts, you guys that go, you get a binder like this thick, right? You're going to have a script for everything. But remember that it's less about the scripts and it's about the content of the scripts and you putting them in your own words. And it's about having a two-way dialogue. It's about listening to that person across from you and things like that. Be mentally present in every conversation. Don't be step skipper. If you guys knew Seinfeld, no skipping steps. And stay present in the conversation. Truly learn what the person's committed to. Make sure that you always are acting as a knowledgeable advisor or coach. If I had a tax problem, where would I go? An accountant. So I have a real estate need, I'm going to go to a realtor. Same feeling. Fully understand it's not about you, but it's all about them. And always, always, always on the phone, use the IICCC in your own words and be genuine. And again, I gave you guys those breakouts last week with the IICCC to learn how to do that. That's what we're practicing in script mastery every day to get you so comfortable using this that it just flows naturally. Preparing for the appointment, know your market. The more you know the market, the houses sold, and what's for sale, the more powerful your presentation will be. Learn the neighborhood, the streets, and the uniqueness of the town. Tip 2, use a time range. Realtors are notoriously one thing, a couple things, but one thing, late. Disorganized is another one on the list. By the way, I'm not insulting anybody. The better a realtor you are, chances are your time management and your organization management are less and less. Very funny. Becky's running late. She's got to go. All right. But that's what they do. It's part of the personality traits of people that are successful in real estate. Again, as we study personality traits and things like that, people are successful in real estate just tend to do it. So don't put yourself in a corner. If I tell you that I'm going to be at your house at 9 o'clock and I show up at 5 after, what am I? If I show up at 1 after, what am I? Late. So give a window. I'll see you there between 9 and 9:30. And then what I want you to do, I want you to get to their house at 8:45 in the morning. Get yourself together. The last thing you want to be is that agent, not me, but you guys, with frazzled hair, running up to the door with papers falling out of your binder because you're late. You want to get everything together, have all your stuff together, maybe rehearse a little bit of what you're going to say in your opening and whatever, and go through the CMA and be ready and prepared. Tip 3, make sure all decision makers are there. I had a girl work for me in New Jersey, Atia, and Atia, on her first listing appointment, wanted me to go with her. And I always will do that with you guys. She wanted me to go with her just because she wanted a little bit, somebody to hold her hand, make sure she was whatever. She was very new. So I went. She remembered this from training. The wife tried to pull the old, I don't remember, yeah, it was the wife or the husband. One of them had tried to pull the old, my husband's there, or my wife's there, whatever it was. I don't remember. It's so long ago. And Tia said, I really need you both here. I need both your perspectives on the house. If we're going to price this right, this, that, whatever. And they tried and they tried and they tried. Next thing you know, the spouse came walking out of the other room, said, oh, I'm free now. And she ended up doing it. But she said, I'll reschedule. Don't worry, it's not a problem. I can come back tomorrow or the next day or whatever's good. So explain ahead of time that you need all decision makers there and how much time you need. Because the other trick, oh, yeah, well, we only have 15 minutes because we got to take our kid to soccer practice or basketball practice or whatever. Make sure you overcome those objectives when setting the appointment. So objections, I should say. I'm sorry. Objections, not objectives. It's your objective to overcome that objection. And you do that by overcoming those things and making sure they have enough time, that all decision makers there, etc. Tip 4. That was the one I just said. See that I've been doing these so long and they just fly through me. But yeah, make sure that they have enough time and are not distracted. Last thing you want, they'll tell their kids, act up while that guy's here. Act up. So they can get an excuse to get out anytime they want. Tip 5, know how much they want for the house before the appointment. Okay, am I asking you to be Houdini here a little bit? But you can do it. Many times when you ask somebody, well, do you have a general idea what you want to get? I want you to tell me what it's worth. Okay, like we're playing some, I'm waiting for Bob Barker to come back from the grave. Who does the prices right now? Is that Drew Carey come back, coming out and say, well, buy it for 99 cents. Don't go over the dollar. You go over your dollar, that whole thing. That's what it feels like with some of these people. I'll bid $1, and that's what it feels like it's some kind of game. So many people will be forthright with you. Some won't. If they're not, here's what you need to know. Find out, has anything, have you seen any of the houses in your neighborhood sell? Oh, for about how much did that sell for? $450,000. Okay. Now I'm starting to get an idea. Ask another question, kind of go, whatever. Hey, do you have a mortgage? How much is your mortgage? We owe $300,000. Keep the conversation going. How much of a down payment are you looking to put on your new house? $150,000. Okay. So we're probably in the ballpark. But by asking those questions and not back to back, just kind of filtering, flowing them in as you're getting to know the person and whatever else, they didn't want to tell you, but what do you know? You know that they owe $300,000. The house around the corner went for $450,000. They want to make $450,000. In order for them to get to $450,000, they're probably going to have to sell it for what? $475,000, $480,000, right? To walk away with what they want, because of closing fees, our fees, and whatever else. We have a ballpark, and we know where we can set up our conversation when we go in for that listing appointment. Do a preliminary CMA. You want one appointment, not two. When you show up to the appointment, we're going to go through more of this powerful listing conversations, but you want to have everything with you to walk out with a signed listing agreement. So have a CMA, everything except the exact price. If you use our tools, we have the Moxie Present, does a really nice job of putting a range, but you're going to write the actual price. Again, it depends how it shows. You go in and, there's gold plated, whatever, it's going to go high. You go in and it's Formica countertops, it's going to go low, and torn carpet or, whatever. So have everything filled up at the price. But you have a range, you know what that range is, so you're prepared when you go in. And then you can set that price at the end, okay? As I said to you before, realtors are notoriously late. I should really put this and the other tip together, but I didn't. You're going to give them a time range. Remember, I'll be there between 9 and 9:30, not just when 9 o'clock, you show up 9:01, you're late, but also arrive early. Get there at 8:45. Have your CMA ready to go. Have your car loaded with a sign, with your lockbox, with listing, totally organized and prepared. Have your conversation book if you use one, or your brag book, which I'll teach you about. That's what most of our agents carry. We'll teach you about that in a couple of weeks. Have a listing agreement ready to go. Get there early, wait in the car, and prep up. Go through your RACE, right? Or I'm sorry, REAL, wrong one. REAL, that is our acronym. We know IICCC we learned today. You're going to learn REAL, which is how you do a listing conversation. And we'll go through that in a couple of weeks when I teach you how to do a listing conversation. Go through each of them and run them in your mind and get yourself mentally prepared, confident, and ready to go. Some people like to crank up some music, whatever works for you. All right. I have a video series. You can go on at America's Gurus and you can watch this. I actually have added to this, but I believe I have 17 in here places to find prospects. I know we're running over a little bit, but normally, again, for anybody that may have just tuned in, this particular training is my longest training of any of my curriculum. So it's the only training I'm going to do today, because we are going over just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to get you out of here as quickly as I can. Ways to find prospects. If you follow what I'm about to teach you and do these things, you will never, ever, ever say to me again, or if you've ever said it to me, most of you haven't, I didn't have anybody to call. So when we have our Thursday meetings where we go through and I hold you accountable for the week, right? I didn't have anybody to call. Well, after you take these, what I'm about to give you, you can never make that excuse again. You will always have more people to call than you have hours in the day to call them. So let's go. Number one, work a high turnover area. What's a high turnover area? You use the MLS to determine where there are a lot of listings going up, but also where properties are selling. If you see, oh, there's a lot of listings there, it must be a high turnover rate, but you don't look and none are selling, guess what that is? It's a non-desirable area. Or there's buyers galore, but there's not enough listings to go around. Maybe you do want to get involved in that if you think you can get listings, but maybe there's a reason people aren't listing because they're the wrong age, they're the wrong type of people that move, whatever. So try to find a place where there's a lot of buying and selling, there's a lot of buying and selling going on. It's going to help you. Make sure you know the strengths and the weaknesses of the agents in that area. Speak to those weaknesses. Don't speak about the agent, speak about the weaknesses. Make those weaknesses your strength. Number 2, have a call to action seminar. I have agents that do first-time homebuyer seminars. Moni's here somewhere. Moni knows 2 of these agents that do these once a quarter. I've seen them walk out with 30 leads. Do they all end up as buyers? No. Do a good amount of them? Yeah. And are most of them pipeline for somewhere down the road? Absolutely. Use our office. Use your office. Use wherever. Use the International House of Pancakes. Wherever you want to go. Use a community center. So have a call to action seminar. How to advertise a house. That's going to help you find FSBOs. How to hold an open house. Again, FSBOs. How to use low interest rates to sell your home. Sellers. First-time home buyers. These are going to portray you as an expert. You can partner with another agent, with our mortgage company, or the title company, or all of the above. Teach an adult community education class about how to do flips, about how to do investment properties, about how to whatever. All of a sudden, the town is now sending advertising out with your name on it, and you're an expert, and you're going to get paid to do it. Number 3, work orphans, not little Annie. We're not on a Broadway play. What this is people that have worked had bought a house from your office, okay? And we can get you these people, and their agent's gone, right? In our office, some of their agents may be dead. This office has been here for what, 30, 40 years? Whatever that is. Call them and apologize. Say, I'm sorry, your agent's gone and that nobody's been in touch with you. Of course, they're going to be like, well, I really don't need an agent. But then explain to them that they do. They should have a market evaluation on their house every 2 years and go through the importance of that. See if they're consider moving and add them to your current client list and to your 4 times a year of calling them, which we're going to go through next week. Number 4, FSBOs can net you, this is such a low number. FSBOs can net you $120,000 a year, $160,000 a year. I had a girl her first year, Kaylin Hughes, did $180,000 just in FSBOs her first year. There's tons of them. The statistic now is close to 90% of them will list with an agent at some point. So remember, if there's 5 new FSBOs in your market each month, which is way more than that, but 5 that you targeted, that would create 60 potential listings. If only 70 to 80% of them, which is now lower than what the statistics show, list, that's 45 to 48 listings a year. Let's just say that you follow my techniques that we taught last week and you get 20 of them, which should be easy. And they sell for a take-home commission of $4,500. Guys, we don't even sell houses that go for that anymore. I wrote this way too many years ago. That would be $90,000. Chances are the commissions are going to be closer to $7,000 to $9,000, which is going to double that money. 160, 180,000. Take the long way home. You're driving home, don't go to the same roads all the time. Going anywhere, don't take the same roads. Take different routes. Look for FSBOs. Look for other interesting opportunities like community events, opportunities to network. 6, listen to your buyers. Buyer may see a FSBO. You want to talk about having a warm entrance to go talk to a FSBO? Oh, yes, I've been working with the buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they were interested in your house. Great way to open a conversation. Number 7, offer an over-the-phone market analysis. We used to do our IDR calls, which are the pre-recorded calls. They were hot 10 years ago. Now everybody hears the computer thing and they hang up. So we don't do them as much anymore. But create an ad offering a free over-the-phone market analysis, okay? Provide a wide range. So somebody says, oh, okay, yeah, how much is my house worth? It's worth between 400 and $500,000. Well, guess what? They're going to want to know whether it's worth 400 or 450 or 500, right? So what do? You offer to come out and see the house so you can give them an exact number. Now you're in the door. Um, and I'm telling you, this we used to do this with the IVR. I have agents sit around with their phones and would just route the phone calls. I can't even tell you how many people I got. And again, this nowadays, all you have to do is just make the call yourself. I don't know if I have it on there or not. All right. I don't think that works anymore. Used to play it. Let's give you an example. Anyway, make an investor ad. Put this on things like Craigslist, um, any online things. Place an ad saying that you're a homeowner investor looking for a 3 or 4 bedroom house in wherever. Uh, Tell them you're a buyer looking to buy properties at the right price. Schedule to see the home before giving a price. Once you see the property, let them know you're an agent, but at this moment, you're acting as a buyer. If they're willing to sell for a wholesale price, you want to buy. If they want a retail price, you start the conversation and get them to list with you. What if they come and say, oh, you know what? I'm so sick of this. I want to get the wholesale price. And you're not in a position to buy it yourself? Say, no problem. Get the information, bring it to the office. We've got buyers all over the place that will end up working with, you might even partner with you on it and get you in that property, or they'll get themselves in that property. We'll have it sold. And good news is you'll get some money out of it. Get 15 devoted people. When I do this, everybody says, oh my God, that's so genius, and they don't do it. If you go in just downtown Newport Richey, you will find I have people that are devoted to me all around businesses in that town. If you ever have lunch or dinner or want to go for drinks at a place called Fitzgerald's, you will see my picture in there on this little thing, handing out stuff for people for their dogs. Uh, the manager there will recommend me all the time. And there's plenty of places like that. And again, I don't even sell real estate, but I do this just because it gets leads and hopefully give these leads to you guys. So get 15 devoted people. Get a master list of people you recommend. Tell them, I'm going to be active in real estate. I know you're trying to get more people for your business, whatever it is. Here's the deal. I'm going to put you on some of my advertising, this, that, whatever, if you'd like. You can use my Facebook group, you can whatever and advertise. All I ask in return is if I say that you're the best plumber in town or have the best pizza in town or the best dry cleaner in town, that if somebody asks about real estate, that I'm always going to make sure you have my cards, this, that, whatever, hand them my cards, get me in touch with them. It works. Business people in towns know everybody. Network with them, get to know them, become friends with them, become their go-to when it comes to real estate. Number 10, find for rent by owners. It's great along the shoreline here. It's great in the whole Tampa area. Find vacation homes that are for rent. A lot of people are frustrated for a lot of different reasons. Maybe they're not, but just ask them, hey, do you have any weeks you can't rent? Would you mind if I, just take an open listing? They're all in open listings. They'll give you the listing. You pop it on your website, gives you something that could drag more people to your website. You don't want to be in the rental business. It's not where we're doing this. But what you are doing is you're going to call them every quarter. Hey, do you have any other weeks that you're having a hard time with? Let me see what I can do. Any price changes, any updates to the property. And every 3 months, you're calling them. Sooner or later, they're going to say, man, this is going great. Thinking about buying a new one. Or, oh my God, I'm so sick of this. I just need to sell. I've had the same thing broken 20 times, blah, blah, blah. They may have had a relationship with another agent for years, but if you call them 4 times a year and stay in touch with them, they're going to be way closer to you in the course of a year to 2 years than they are the agent that they barely ever talk to. Relocation companies. Of course, we own the biggest relocation company in the world. When I wrote this training, I didn't have a relocation company, and we had to go out of our way to try to make relationships with them and get kind of the leftovers from big companies like this. We have Cardis. If anyone wants to be a part of Cardis, let me know. We can get you on the path of getting you in that, getting those leads. I put together a national referral network. We have a great referral network because of our company being in as many states as we're in. But find reload companies, build relationships with them, moving companies, all these different things. Believe it or not, these are all people. You know who's a great one? Funeral homes. Go find a funeral home and become friends with the undertaker, especially in Florida. That kind of goes back to the last tip. But anyway, builders. Builders can provide a pipeline of listings. I did this with a couple of builders, one being K Hovnanian. I lucked out because I'm a Freemason. The guy that was their salesperson was a Freemason. He saw my ring. I had brought him a buyer and he said, dude, I'm listed right now with Keller Williams. I really don't like them. They haven't followed through, blah, blah, blah. I've told K Hovnanian I went out with them. Do you want these listings? I'm like, yeah, I do. So I did the closeout at one place and then he went to a 55 and over, which had over 600 units. And I became the listing agent for it. I was just sitting in my office collecting checks, didn't even know who these buyers were or sellers. Not only buyers if I took them, sellers, I should say. They gave me like 1% for putting these things in the MLS on every sale. It was the greatest thing going. I was getting checks. They were like $400,000 or $500,000 houses. So I was getting checks for $4,000, $5,000 and not even knowing something sold. If somebody builds a development and they don't have in-house, which a lot of them do, but a lot of them don't list themselves because they want our publicity. Ask to list the section. They have some hard, and a more developed one where most of the houses are gone, but they got some leftovers. Ask to list them. Ask to do an open house. Build a relationship with them. Roxanne Armstrong, she just actually moved to Virginia and she's actually getting her license there. And we're going to work on getting her a broker's license there and getting her in. Anyway, Roxanne, that's how she got started when she started with me about 6 years ago. She was up in New Tampa, and all those developers, every one of them knew her. Every one of them knew her. She ended up working for one that went on a maternity leave, and she volunteered to go in and work. She said, "Don't pay me, just let me go in." And she collected buyers, this, that, whatever. Um, she was good. She was good for 20 deals a year, 18, 20 deals a year, basically on new constructions. Do public open houses. Do a neighborhood open house. Invite neighbors, oh, sorry, to attend. What is that? What does that do? Tell them that you're going to do a half hour ahead of time. They can come. It's just neighbors to snoop in their neighbor's house. What you want to do is have them go in and say, wow, that house is listed for 450. Mine's nicer than this. And I thought mine was only worth 425. You hear that? And you say, hey, how about I do a free market evaluation for you? And you do it after the open house, or you do it the next day or whenever you can set an appointment. Let greed kick in. They're like, wow, I can get that much. I can go buy a nicer house. Yep, absolutely. Boom, you get a listing. Conduct a farming or self-promotion campaign. We're going to do a whole series on farming. Build your brand and build brand awareness. Do a low interest mailing rate. Well, this one comes and goes as I teach this class. It's not really a great time right now, but when the time is right, you can send something out on these types of things and just let people know when it's a good time or what's going on in the market. Have a spotter for FSBOs. If you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you have anybody tell them you give them 15 bucks if they go by, they're riding their bike and they see it for sale by owner. Take a picture, get the address, get the phone number, picture of the sign, the address, whatever. You give them 15 bucks. You find FSBOs as they go up, you're gonna nail these FSBOs. When you guys start really putting together what I gave you last week, and you do that program, you're gonna have 4, 5, 6 appointments with a FSBO every month if you work this, maybe more. First appointments, not including follow-ups. Number 17, always do the call around. So anytime there's a new listing, whether it's yours or anyone else's or just sold, you're going to call around and tell them. And this is what I was saying to you before, Suzanne. Sellers tend to choose another broker because they want that agent to be loyal to them. House just went on the market. You call and say, hey, we expect it's going to be really busy. There's a lot of buyers interested. Do you know anybody that's thinking about selling their house? And of course, what you're hoping they say is, we were actually kind of thinking about it. Boom. And you set an appointment. So here's the challenge. The 30-day prospecting challenge that I laid down in the beginning. I'm sorry, like I said, this is the longest training I do. Usually we're out of here in 45 minutes. But are you serious about your career? Are you serious about getting better? Are you committed to achieving that next level? I want you to commit for the next 30 days to add an additional hour per day to your prospecting to improve your skills by practicing what you say. So I want you in conversation mastery, working with your script partner, getting better and honing your craft. And then what I want you to do is I want you to make those calls. The more you make calls, 3 hours a day, right? Adding that extra hour, whatever it is, you're going to become stronger agent, stronger person, and more in control of your career. So make the commitment, make it to yourself, make it right now. Pick up the phone. Let's make some calls. Let's make it happen. This will change your life and change your career forever. Questions for me?